What's going on YouTube? This is The Last Musketeer, and welcome to the next video of the progression part 2. So we're picking up right where we left off once again, and I'm starting with some of the chapter 6 content. Now I started at 6.5, and this one was actually a really fun idea for an actual map stage where you can't put any blockers down at the top lane, and you have these guys that do quite a bit of damage and attack very fast in the top lane. So the only way to do it is bait with something that's going to survive the hits. Now I tried to do this mainly without using casters or snipers up top because I wanted it to be basically just built off the defenders tanking and then maybe drop shining in the middle there, because where the defenders are placed, it doesn't matter the actual placing order since they are going to go in range of Beagle or Spot before they see shining. So she's going to be perfectly safe right there, and then I'm just stacking a lot of defenders or tanky units with some good damage at bottom. The main thing is you don't have any room to place any more casters unless I did it in the middle there where shining was, to try to take out some of the tankier foes, because they are a bit of a problem as they start walking through the bottom as well. So I do have Cantabile, I do have Jay I can drop in desperation, along with a very decently tanky Mudrock that can go in there to help alleviate some of the pressure there. Now I was a little scared when the Rage Winds walked through because I thought, well, these guys are going to hit like a truck. It's going to be really hard from this point, but no, I just activate Beagle's ability and then Spot's ability, and they tank up well enough between the two other healers that I didn't have a problem. So this one actually turned out a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. The first couple times I'd ran it, which I think I did show in the last week's video, I'm not entirely sure, but getting through it that easy now was very nice to see, and I think I also have a lot of praise to give to the CC event, because like I've said before, that thing really works on you and trains you well for these situations. But here is 6-7, and this one's actually really, really nice because you get to see a lot about Faust, and also you have a pre-made squad. They're all basically E2 except for a couple of them, so it's really cool. You get to try out a bunch of operators that you may not necessarily have. Now, the strat going into this was get my 2 vanguards out so that I can get as much DP as I can, throw rope in that lane to pull down to alleviate some of the stress. Then I drop Greythroat, because Greythroat, I'm learning now, is absolutely insane. This sniper seems unreal, basically like a discount Exu, because I do not have Exu, as many of you probably know. Now I drop Beagle here first because the main reason behind that, by the time the thrower gets up there, it's only going to see Beagle in time because it gets to that point right above the hole. So I can drop a medic to the left of Greythroat and not have to worry about taking damage if I wanted to. Now anything I drop there is basically going to be fine, but I think for the most part you don't actually have to drop anything there for it to be viable. The main thing is making sure that Kawura goes down basically last, because once Faust walks out, you have to make sure that you are not taking damage with anyone else, because he hits like a truck, as anyone that has been through this knows. So while he's going through the lane he's going, I'm trying to set up Blaze to actually do a lot of damage there, because you have 2 or 3 different operators that do enough damage to deal with him, because he cannot be blocked. He's going to walk through, but between Amaya and Blaze, and then of Greythroat, of course, if he gets past, they're going to take him out pretty easily, I think. And I will also state that you get to learn a little more about Faust, and as you're going through the story, you learn more and more about not just your side, but the enemy side as well, and it makes you feel a little more connected to the whole situation, no matter the side. And so I think they've done a fantastic job of writing this, and I'm not going to go into showing the story or talking about the story until I do vids in that regard, but it made me pretty sad after this fight. I'm not going to lie, the story is beautiful in this game. It's more than a one-dimensional aspect, and for that I am very, very much thankful, because I think when it comes to any game, and Arknights in general, because I love it so much, being able to connect to the story and really feel it at an emotional level is one of the greatest aspects of any game. And you know, I do also have to say that being able to use Blaze again, because that was something I had talked about before, that I had Blaze on my original account like 3 years ago that I didn't get to play very long. And so getting a player again was actually pretty nice. I missed using that operator, and I know she's not as good as she used to be. Is still such a nice feeling, a bit of nostalgia in that aspect, and having her part of the story, it just felt really, really nice. But we get that one done. We're going into 6-8, and I'm going to be doing a lot of explaining about the different stages that I run through here in Chapter 6, because mainly I actually pushed through quite a lot of them in like maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours time. I mean, I say that, but I was probably on Arknights the day prior about 5 hours. So you tell I got a good amount of stuff done, and that just goes to show how much I enjoy this game overall. But one thing to note is I'm starting the ice stages now, so I'm gonna have to start dealing with the freeze mechanic and the cold aspect of them as well, which is very scary, because anything I've dealt with in that regard, whether it be in IS2 or that little snippet that I was shown from doing the To Be Continued event that's going on right now, it's a scary feeling knowing that having this in my core gameplay is going to be a rough go. But we also hit a massive milestone in level 50. Unfortunately, don't have enough to actually buy the level 50 pack with OP, because I think I'm at 24 of 28. So as I'm completing some more story events and actual To Be Continued challenge modes, I'll get some more OP, and then I'll purchase that and get a decent amount of random, get some other nice materials along with it. But as you can see here, Thorns gets frozen. The good thing about the freeze mechanic is that you do get attacked during that. You can still block, though you are taking a lot more damage, and especially when the sword holders walk through, or as my Discord calls them, the weeaboos, they're going to really just absolutely destroy any unit that is frozen. So that's something I'm getting accustomed to and starting to be able to play around with. So the main thing is having some fast deploy units that can actually alleviate some of the stress that comes along with the ice spiders as they're going through is actually so crucial, I think, to these runs. And as you see here, I dropped J in the bottom lane to get rid of one of them, because the casters do apply the cold effect. So if I got that spider by, more than likely I'm probably going to get frozen down there and cause all sorts of problems. But we take that one pretty handily, and I have to say that I am a little proud of myself. It's not the greatest idea to do this, obviously, but being able to complete something on the first go without going into practice mode is such a good feeling. I don't recommend doing it. I shouldn't be doing it, but I am, because it is actually fun to try out. I like to test myself with first-time knowledge. So if I can clear something on the first try, I go for it, because it is an instant refund insanity, and then I can practice after that if I don't get it. That way I'm not wasting anything. So if you do see me do that, you know, I'm just doing it for that aspect and that aspect alone. But one of the aspects that I love about Arknights so much is being able to do these class-specific runs, which I'm not capable of yet because I do not have a very expansive roster, but Swire Knights is something that I am working on, and I promise I'm trying to get all this content out as much as possible. There's just so much going on. If I can get more time in the future, being able to do a lot more. Also, I'm trying to work on some of the story content, talking about the story chapter by chapter, doing some gameplay through those, and we'll get all of that figured out and get the Swire Knights going. And honestly, there was a video I was going to make a while back where I was borrowing some different operators from the support menu and hoping that I could do something with Gavial where I'm pulling people off the stage by making some of the big guys lighter, stuff like that. That's something I'd like to do as well. It got pushed back a lot because a lot of my options on my team aren't able to do something like that, and plus getting Gavial to E2 for the extra pull, since you'll be able to block 3, would be massive for actually pulling people into the holes all the time. So I'm going to make my very own Kevins. Let them know what it feels like for him when he falls through like that. I need to share the love. So we'll get to that at some point, and hopefully I can make a decent amount of options for that, because I don't think there's necessarily a lot of maps that I can pull off of, but like I said, I'll look around. If you've got some in specifics that you want me to try, let me know down in the comments on this, and I will do that. Now this map here, actually not too bad. There's a lot of spiders going through, and so they do tend to clog the lanes with a lot of freeze later on, but I do have some quick deploys I can use to keep people from being frozen, as I use J here to try to negate some of it. It doesn't do the greatest job, but we didn't actually get frozen there, so I guess in a way it worked. You know, I can't complain if I see results. So we are steadily cruising through these missions, and another side mission to do, but at least I know in this one I can farm the rocks pretty decently. I know there's a lot of people out there doing rock farming. If you have a later progressed account, if you have something that's pretty far in, you can never have too many rocks. So I'll be joining the quarry soon, I'm sure. But this one, it was another one that I was actually surprised it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Now I dropped Beagle here after Perfumer to make sure that Perfumer is not going to be taking a lot of the damage. I do throw Blue Poison out a little bit later, but I have Spot to also do it. And I'm also trying to stagger them a bit. As you see, I'm doing them catacornered to each other so that I can get a little more pressure relief when it comes to the freeze. Even if the front ones are getting frozen, Thorns is not, and Thorns is going to do a massive amount of the wave clear. He's basically doing all the work. He's got a big backpack, and he puts everybody else in it. So for that, we are very appreciative of Thorns. If you don't have this operator, I do apologize. Life is a little bit harder, more than likely for you, because he's just an insane lane holder. I enjoy him every time I use him, just watching him, and I'd love to at some point get some type of buff army going, just to see how much Thorns can actually do. I mean, with how he is at base, it would be insane to think that he can get stronger than he already is, which is obviously possible. So something I might make in the future when I get the option to do that. Now this one was the bane of my existence for a little bit. I actually took a decent amount of practice runs on this one to finally perfect it, and I think even when I did clear it, it might have been a little bit by luck. I don't know if this is one that the auto deploy is going to 100%, but if it is, you know, more power to me. I think it has the option to do it at least most of the time, so I'm not too worried there. But Perfumer was a hard one for me to figure out where to drop, because I knew there was more casters coming through. As you can see, I considered dropping BP there and decided not to, because that would have been a horrible idea. I throw Mudrock down at the back though, and Jay, so that I can get Mudrock attacking as much as possible before the other one moves forward. I'm trying to keep her from being frozen, because every third attack, those elite casters do actually freeze. Now Lapland is great for shutting down a lot of abilities, especially when it comes to the ice spiders, as you see everyone getting frozen here, and the Frostbot moving in at the top, which was another one I was actually willfully unprepared for. So once I got the idea of how to take it out, I realized Steward wasn't in the actual freeze range of that, and Lapland also shuts down the bot, but I needed her to be in this other lane for the spiders in specifics. Now, if it wasn't for the fact that she's hitting them in time and stopping the freeze, I would have been in really, really bad shape. The Ice Cleaver standing right there is the only thing that I really have to worry about. I have some good damage from other guys coming in, but if they're not getting cleaved in two by those guys, it's actually fairly easy to survive through this whole process. Another one down in the books. 612, like I said, a lot of chapter clearing. I do apologize if it's a little long, a little monotonous, but I was very excited to get through all these. So this one, they're starting to implement more of those frost pylons, which is bad news in most situations. So here I drop Beagle down to block for that, and I drop Thorns over here. Now the main problem is I have to make sure that somebody clears those slugs, and luckily Cruz, with the damage he has, was able to take out the two that went by. So now from here all I'm doing is making sure that I set up outside of the range of the actual pylon with Lapland and Thorns. So Thorns gets hit with a cold here, that's not going to be a problem, and Lapland is going to stop them from actually using the cold on me. So as long as I don't get double stacked by a freeze, Thorns is going to clear the bottom lane, and then top lane I can put a little bit of pressure release by placing Mudrock at the front. Now I know Mudrock is most likely going to get frozen. She still has the shield procs while she's frozen, so she can still heal, but regardless, if she goes down, it's not the worst thing ever. I can actually deal with that Not something that's going to make a massive impact. Now the main thing is a lot of spiders, or a lot of slugs rather, are coming through right here, which was actually scary. It was something I was worried I wasn't going to be able to take out. But as you can see, Mudrock doing a little bit of proccing there, took them out. I have others I can drop for that situation, but I claimed the free 50 pack from here, and as you can see, I'm 8 off in this video, but I'm currently, I think, 4 off from that point. There's a few stages I have still that I can upgrade with, and the LMD gives me 75,000 out of that, which when I claim that is actually going to give me enough to E2 Mudrock. So looking forward to that. I don't quite get her to E2 by the end of this video, but at least I know I'm very, very close. Now if you're a Discord user in my Discord server, then you know I struggled a bit with this map. I tried to figure it out for a little bit. People gave me some suggestions, and then I realized, yeah, I'm looking a bit too into it. Those pylons only hit one sniper if you have them towards the back. So what do? I basically put thorns on one side, Lapland on the other side, and then I have 2 snipers in the middle. I also throw Firewatch in the back in case anything gets by. I have options for that. Now, one thing I had to be careful of, and I didn't do a great job of, was stopping the bots from going through and hitting with the freeze. So people were getting frozen. It's actually making the sniping aspect of it pretty rough, but Platinum being in the back, helping the top side, and Firewatch being there for a little bit of extra relief if I need it, is basically going to guarantee me the win here. So, another one down. We're inching closer to the stage that I'm currently stuck on. Man, it feels good. Just being able to clear these this fast, I think, for me is such a boost to my confidence, because there's many a time where I get stuck on a stage for a while, and I not so much frustrated, but my sanity starts to dwindle a little bit IRL, because I love strategy aspect, but when I fail it multiple times in a row and I know what I need to do and just can't quite get it done, it's a very frustrating experience. So this one I had to change around 3 or 4 different times, because by the end of it, a bunch of ice cleavers start walking out of the top gate, and they are such a pain to deal with. Luckily, I have Mudrock. If it was an E2 Mudrock, it would have been easier to deal with, because Cruz can take out the left side drone, so I don't have to worry about the freeze there. I just have to worry about getting double stacked on the right side, which is why I have Lapland on the right side next to Thorns. So Thorns is doing the main damage up top. Mudrock is tanking fairly decently through the ice cleaves. So now all I really have to worry about is making sure that I don't stack the launch of the cold with the spider. The problem is I did, because Lapland swapped to the aerial unit instead of finishing off the spider, and since I don't have an E2 Lapland, it's only a 1-second silence, which makes it very, very hard to deal with. As you see here, I almost go down. Those guys hit like trucks, especially when they stack that many of them. Thorns got it done. Barely survived, but got it done. So that one's out of the way. One of the hard ones is gone. Now this one is one of those stages that realistically isn't that hard. It's all about placement timing and making sure you manage the spiders on the front side. So as you see here, I drop J at the front to do that. I will do that multiple times. Also Cantabile to block them, because they're going to stack the ice cleavers on the left side, on the top side, and I have to make sure that no one gets frozen or run is essentially over right there. So we're managing it pretty decently, and as you see, I dropped Spot here instead of a fast redeploy, because, well, we're getting closer to the end of the stage. There's not a whole lot of units that come out of it, so dropping Spot to guarantee that I don't get frozen before the ice cleaves get there is massive. Now I can always drop Cantabile a little early, and then she will take out both of them, because she is that fast with the passive coming off deployment. She is very, very good for that. But as long as I block one, we're never in fear of going down. So once again, Spot comes back up, I block the 2, take the ice cleaver out. Mudrock is soloing bottom, luckily, and fairly simply, honestly. Mudrock at E2 is going to help me a ton. I am very excited for that. But just with what she's at right now at E180, she does very good for dealing with ice cleavers. Now this map is also a pain, because I did almost mess up a couple times in this one, even though I went through in practice and did it the first time, because they just throw a lot at you, a lot of chances to get frozen, so you have to be really careful with how you drop things. Now, I dropped Thorns in the top lane, Lapland in the bottom. Lapland's going to help deal with the ice spiders, but the problem is she's going to be targeting one specific enemy unit the whole time, which is generally going to be the weeaboos, so we're going to have to be a little careful with how we do this. I also throw Cruise there because I know if the ice spider does detonate, Cruise is going to be frozen, Mudrock is also going to be frozen, but I need that extra bit of chance to clear those actual spiders off early. So, as you can see here, it does go bad. Mudrock spins, takes out the spider, the same time the pylon goes off. So now, I'm actually going to lose Mudrock, and both Platinum and Cruise get frozen from it as well. So, luckily we have options that we can swap in instead. One of them being Beagle. She is very tanky. The main thing is blocking this last spider, and I do manage to do that, but the problem is, it's just close enough for Beagle to get frozen. So now I have to drop my last defender in spot, but luckily it is the actual last enemy, so no problem there. We got it done. We're coming to the end of this week's video, and the main thing is I just want to show you what my roster looks right now. So in the chapter we got to 616, which is where Frost Nova Boss actually comes from, the second version of her, and I've got to say it's a bit rough. I spent like a couple hours trying to beat it. Didn't quite get it done because I'm not using support units. So it's a little rough. I could throw Posey in and just wipe Frost Nova immediately, but where's the fun in that? You know, I need to understand the mechanics as well as possible for my own satisfaction. But as you can see here, most of my units really don't change much. I think that maybe I'm taking a little bit too much time and spending a little bit too many resources on some of the 6 stars right now, but I think realistically it hasn't been that bad. Even with my underleveled units, I'm doing a pretty decent job of clearing these stages and getting through, but it's just going to show me in 616 just how much it would help if I had an E2 like Blue Poison, for instance, because I can go through the first phase of the boss when she comes out of the gate pretty easily with Cruise and Blue Poison with a couple of blockers, but when she gets to phase 2 and walks through the middle, that's when I really have a hard time. I can take her out at times, but then the bottom lane falls out from lack of caster damage down there. So a lot of things I'm working on trying to figure out, but this is just an overview of what I'm looking at. J is one that I'm going to take up as soon as possible as well, probably maybe right after Mudrock. Maybe I'll wait a little longer, who knows. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for me. And hopefully I can get some decent progression, get past this boss, and get some story content out pretty soon. But anyway, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.